What is inside your head?
A brain.
Have you ever seen your brain?
No.
Alert from Snaps Pro
How do
X.
you know it's there?
Low disk space.
What does your brain do?
Gives you good memories.
What do you do when your brain is doing this? What do you do when your brain is giving you good memories?
Talk.
Talk about what?
Anything.
Is your brain doing it right now?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because the brain gives you all the stuff you have to say, and if my teacher gives me a sum and it was one I'd won, my brain would figure it out and then it would just tell me to say it.
I have a brain. I have a brain. I have a brain. I have a brain.
What is inside your head?
My brain?
Have you ever seen your brain?
No.
How do you know it's there?
As I say. Well, I mean, you have to learn through your brain.
Okay. What does your brain do?
It helps you to think and that.
What do you do when your brain is doing this?
You've been thinking about other things.
Is your brain doing it right now?
Yes.
How do you know?
Because I'm thinking.
Does your brain know what it is doing?
Yes, probably.
How does your brain know? Who is telling your brain what to do?
That's an awkward one, isn't it?
Does it mean I should talk about you and your brain, two things?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a brain. I have a brain. I have a brain.
Perhaps you have been asking yourself, what was all that about? To answer this question, let's start with the image that followed the interview with 6-year-old Kai and 76-year-old Mary. The image I'm referring to is this rotating brain that said, I have a brain. Obviously it doesn't make sense for a brain to say, I have a brain. There's only one brain after all, not a brain within a brain. Yet when you see these images, it seems to make sense when you hear a person saying, I have a brain. But there's something not right here. If it doesn't make sense when the brain says this, then how can it make sense when a person says it? The problem is that when a person says I have a brain, an impression is created that there are two entities, a person and a brain. Now while we might be quite used to this way of talking, the problem becomes clearer in the question, what would happen to the person if we took the brain away? Would we still have the person? To illustrate this point, let's do an imaginary exercise. We start with the brain saying, I have a brain. Now imagine that we could add bit by bit all that covers the brain so that we end up with a person saying, I have a brain. If we consider it okay for a person to say, I have a brain, then somewhere in the process of covering the brain there would come a point of transition between the statement being nonsense and the statement being sensible. It may seem that this scenario in itself only creates more problems than it solves. But there is a very important lesson here. The scenario was born out of a need to resolve two contradictory positions, that is, the same statement being both nonsense and sensible. The animation you see, however, points to a different solution. There is only one entity, the whole person. It seems to be the case, then, that the root of the problem is language itself. The structure of our language creates the illusion of a duality where none exists, a person and the brain. With this in mind, it is imperative that we are mindful of the ways that words create impressions. If these impressions are not investigated and their associated issues not resolved, then we may find that our scientific inquiry is hindered by illusion. We saw examples of the sorts of problems created by illusion during the interview with Kai and Mary. They were interviewed using language that was inherently dualistic, Kai and her brain, Mary and her brain, and among the many things that you saw was their struggle to answer the questions.